Hello and welcome. This is Angie with thecountrychicottage.net. So today we're going to cover cutting fabric with your Cricut machine. Whether you know it or not, your Cricut Explore and your Cricut Maker can cut fabric. You might need a few tools and a few tips and tricks along the way to cut fabric successfully. So let's look at both machines and how to cut fabric. Let's start with the Cricut Explore series. To cut fabric with your Cricut Explore, you are going to need to prepare your fabric. So this is just some interfacing. It's iron-on interfacing, and I'm just going to prep the top because I'm just going to cut a small sample cut. So the rough side goes down on the back of your fabric, and then you're going to iron that into place. Now you'll want to follow all instructions that come with the brand of interfacing you're using because they can vary slightly. Then I'm just going to trim this top portion of fabric off with a pair of fabric scissors. Then you want to peel up the paper liner. So it has a paper liner attached to the interfacing. You'll just want to peel that away and you'll left with kind of like a plasticky coating on the material itself. And this plasticky coating goes face down on the mat. So the fabric will always be face up. So where on the Maker you can mark your pattern pieces on the back of your fabric, with the Explore you cannot. So I'm just trimming away so that the entire fabric is backed with that interfacing. So I'm just trimming away any of the edges that were just a little long for the interfacing piece. Now that your fabric is prepped and has that interfacing on the back, what we'll do is put it interfacing side down, so face up on the fabric grip mat. One thing to note about the fabric grip mat is that you don't want to touch it with your hands. The oils from your fingers can actually break down the adhesive. And then we can use this brayer to make sure our fabric's down well. And then we'll go to the Explore and cut this. So what blade are we going to use for fabric on the Explore? You're just going to use your regular fine point blade. However, you will want one that's just for fabric. So the same way you use scissors that are only for fabric to get a good cut, you want to do the same thing. So Cricut actually makes a pink blade so you can tell that apart from your other blade for your Explore. So I would recommend picking up either a blade and then mark it with marker that says fabric, or pick up a pink blade and have it just for fabric, but just having a blade that's only for fabric. So let's take our pink blade, our mat, to our Explore and cut this fabric. So first you'll take that bonded fabric blade and you'll pop it right into your Explore and close the clamp on the B side. Then you can just set your dial to bonded fabric. Then we'll just load our mat and cut our design. Once again, you want to be sure not to touch the fabric grip mat with your hands. So what I like to do is use just some tweezers to help me lift that fabric up. And then once you get it started, you can pull with your hands. And then you can see our cut design right here. And we'll pick it up as well. And there you have fabric bonded, cut with the Cricut Explore. So now we'll jump into the Cricut Maker. So on the Cricut Maker, you can cut bonded fabric. So just like we did with the Explore, you can cut that bonded fabric right on your Cricut Maker with the same blade, or you can click Edit Tools when you go to cut, and you can cut bonded fabric with the rotary blade as well. But the real benefit of the Cricut Maker is that you can cut fabric that hasn't been bonded. It opens up a whole wide world of crafting possibilities when you can cut that fabric without that bonding on the back. Now, I'm using cotton fabric in all of my experiments, so both the Explore and the Maker today, but I've cut a ton of different fabrics on the Cricut Maker. You can cut everything from really thin to really thick fabrics, all with your Maker. So let's take a look at what tools you need and tips and tricks when cutting fabric on the Cricut Maker. Before you put your fabric on your fabric grip mat, you can actually iron it if you wish. It's totally not required, but if you want to get all those wrinkles out of the fabric first. Then you would just apply it to a fabric grip mat, which is the pink mat. You also want to be sure not to touch this mat with your hands, as it can shorten the life of the mat itself. So what I like to do is start at the top and start pressing the fabric down. Getting any wrinkles or bubbles out. And then something that will really help you extend the life of your mat is if you use one of these brayers and just sort of braid the fabric down. And it may pick up some wrinkles. You can just lift the fabric and get those out. And then once it's all the way down on your mat, we can take this to the Cricut Maker and cut our design. Now, you'll see that I placed my fabric face up. That's because I'm not going to be marking any pattern on the fabric for this cut. I'm just going to cut a heart shape, so you can cut it face up. Now, if I want to mark for a pattern, I would use the washable fabric pen, and I would cut my material face down on the mat, and I would mirror my cut. So anytime you place your material face down, you mirror your cut. And then I would do the same procedure for putting the material on the mat, including braying it down. And then I just be sure to put the washable fabric pen in the maker when I'm cutting. You'll also notice that my material is the same width as the mat. So it's already cut to 12 inches wide because this is the Cricut material. If you're not using the Cricut material, then just cut your fabric to 12 inches wide before starting your project. I did leave it long, however, so the mats come in 12 by 12 or 12 by 24, but you can leave it hanging off and then cut off the excess when you're done. So wherever your cuts are, cut off the excess and you'll still have a full piece of fabric. When cutting fabric with the Cricut Maker, you'll want to use your rotary blade and put that in the cutting side of your machine and close the clamp. If you want to mark the back of your fabric with any of the pattern lines, then you can need the washable fabric pen. You'll open that pen and then put it in the pen side of your maker and close the clamp. Then you'll want to choose the right fabric in Cricut Design Space, load your mat, and cut your design. Now that we've cut our fabric, we need to remove it from the mat. So anytime you touch the fabric grip mat with your hands, the oils from your fingers can break down the adhesive and it just shortens the life of your mat. So something like a pair of these tweezers that look like this will help you kind of grab that fabric and pull it. Then we can just pull that back. And then we can lift the cut piece the same way. So there is fabric cut with the Cricut Maker. So there you have it. Fabric cut with the Cricut Maker and the Cricut Explorer. Both machines do a great job. It's just that the Cricut Explorer, you will need to add that bonding to the back, so it sort of limits the craft projects you can make. The Cricut Maker, however, cuts tons of different fabrics, all without that bonding. And that opens up all the crafting ideas for you, right? So I'm going to drop some links below to a few videos where I've cut different fabrics on the Cricut Maker, so you can kind of see what all I've cut. And then I'll drop some links below as things I've made, and maybe it'll give you some inspiration to start cutting fabric with your Cricut and making a few things for yourself. So I hope you love this video. If you learned something, love the video, be sure to give us a thumbs up. If you have any questions about cutting fabric with your Cricut or any other questions at all about your Cricut machine, you can drop those in the comments section below and we'll answer those there. If you haven't already, you want to head on over to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button because you don't want to miss any of our videos. Scroll back on YouTube, you might find a few more that you really like as well. So thank y'all so much for joining me today, and as always, we'll be back next week with another great Cricut video. Thanks y'all. Bye-bye.